Well, howdy folks, we're getting closer and closer towards Christmas, and so we're continuing on our Christmas movies. Now, I've already talked about the two movies I've already talked about at a previous time. I couldn't remember if I did, but I had to go through my YouTube videos, and sure enough I did, but I did not really talk about the comparisons between the two. This movie I'm going to talk about, it's actually one particular story, but it has been adapted, actually remade, and I'm going to share a little bit of a story behind it, how it came to be. What am I talking about? The 1947 adaptation of Miracle on 34th Street. Of course, it was brand new in 1947. But this is the classic film starring Maureen O'Hara, John Payne, Natalie Wood, and Edmund Gwynn as Santa Claus here. So, a brief rundown of the story of Miracle on 34th Street. A mysterious man shows up to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and ends up taking the place of a drunken Santa Claus, who has, this Santa Claus is drunk, and so they fired this Santa Claus, and the man is hired by Maureen O'Hara. She has an executive position at the store Macy's, and so she hires him as the store Santa, and Maureen O'Hara's character has a daughter played by Natalie Wood. Her name is Susan, and she is this bright little girl who has been raised to be truthful and not have any imagination or believe in silly things such as Santa Claus, and so the whole thing of the movie is to prove the existence of Santa Claus, because even on the card everybody thinks he's a nutcase because he actually writes down the name Kris Kringle and gives very vague descriptions of his age, and he lives in a retirement, he's staying at a retirement community, but somehow knows like little secret things about each person, like you know, where they where they went to school and how old they are and things like that. Things that they really shouldn't, that only that person should know, but Kris Kringle knows. And there's a little bit of a situation that where Kris Kringle runs into with a psychologist who thinks that he's gone crazy and he believes that he's not fit for anything and needs to be put into custody as much as possible, and thus leading into a court case battle proving the existence of Santa Claus, and therefore winning the hearts of millions that he is Santa Claus, and including Natalie Wood's character and Maureen O'Hara's character. So that's just a brief rundown of the movie, the brief synopsis. Now, I think this movie is timeless, and I want to explain how I came to this movie a little bit later on. So, and it's a brilliantly made movie. Like I said, it is a timeless movie. You could watch this at any year and it still holds up, because if you know anything about the backstory of how it was made, a little bit of behind the scenes, there was a I believe it was the writer and director of the film, who was a man by the name of George Seaton. He wrote the story after going Christmas shopping one particular year, and noticed that all the hustle and bustle and rushing and the just absolute chaos, and that he's realized that we as people have forgotten the real true meaning of Christmas. And so he wanted to make a movie and a story that kind of brought back, that would kind of remind us what Christmas really is. And it's that is in terms of the secular sense. And now, in terms of what is really the true meaning of why we celebrate Christmas, that is a bit more, how do I want to say it? Completely different. It's not Santa Claus or anything like that, but it's not about Santa Claus. It's about the birth of Jesus Christ, what it's really about. Now, but there is some Christian, Judeo-Christian themes that is incorporated into the film. Yeah, it's using Santa Claus, but if you think about it in this way, it uses the idea of faith, because there's a scene at the end of the film where Natalie Wood has told Santa Claus what she wants for Christmas. And to us as human beings, it's almost a darn near impossible task of what she wants. She wants a home. Spoiler alert, she wants a home. And it's kind of, that's kind of a, to some people that's an impossible task. It's hard to, if you don't have any money or anything like that. And, that's a big Christmas wish. But she says that, if you can get this for me, I believe that you are the real Santa Claus. And Maureen O'Hara sits her down and tells her, because the whole entire time she's told her, not to believe in such things, not to have any faith, but she sits her down and says, I was wrong in telling you this, that you need to have faith, you need to believe, you need to have a belief, and without that you fall apart. And at the end she keeps saying, you're just a nice man. I don't believe you can do. And then she just goes, I believe. And then the end of the picture, she gets her home. So I just spoiled the whole movie for you, basically. And now you could take that and use the Judeo-Christian motif as like, okay, you gotta believe in Jesus, okay? Now, like I said, they use Santa Claus as kind of an example, but also we as Christians, we do kind of do that and say, if God, if you can grant me this, I'll believe in you. I'll serve you and until time has come. And we don't get what we want, you know, that does happen. And, you know, there is those people that do believe that or do practice that. When it's not really belief, okay? Even if you don't receive what you want, it doesn't deny the existence of something there. But anyhow, that is the 1947 version of Miracle on 34th Street. Now, as I was pouring through the bonus features on this version, what was this DVD? This was this was in 2006 when this DVD was released, okay? This was released by 20th Century Fox in 1947. And then years later that they had decided to... apparently this movie has been remade several times. A couple times it was remade as TV movies. But then in 1995, 20th Century Fox, along with John Hughes, decided to remake the movie in a big budget release in 1995, starring Myra Wilson, Richard Attenborough, Elizabeth Perkins, Dylan McDermott, J.T. Walsh, James Remar, and Robert Prosky. And it is a mid-90s take on the story. I said 1995. It's actually 1994 that when it came out. But okay, but the story here is you got the same. It's the same exact story. There is some little minor changes, but they did change some things. In this adaptation, you know, because you got to think at the time, 1994, John Hughes, where John Hughes was at, this was coming off of Home Alone and Home Alone 2. And so he had made successful movies with Fox doing Home Alone, you know, which is, you know, a very popular Christmas film and adaptation. Not adaptation, but Christmas film that was originally made. So, yeah, in 1994, they made this version where you have Richard Attenborough playing Santa, or Kris Kringle. And he does a marvelous job. I can't knock Richard Attenborough, and he does a great Santa Claus. Now, where the film, I think, falls short is that it tried to incorporate some little bit of crude humor, and they ended up making the drunken Santa that is fired at the beginning of the film a bit of a villain, and as well as the competing store, they made them a outright villain, when in this film Macy's and Gimbel's, yeah, they were they were competition, but in this film they worked together. And as a matter of fact, Macy's and Gimbel's would not allow their names to be used for this film unless they thought it was okay. And so when they saw the finished film, they gave the approval. They said, yeah, this is a good movie. We're proud to put our names on this, and we'll work together with this. And of course, Macy was the big store chain, and it's a realistic store chain. I mean, you still see advertisements for Macy's, and of course every year they do the Thanksgiving parade. But in the 1994 version, they could not get the rights from Macy's or Gimbels to use their names, and so the store that plays Macy's they call it Kohl's. Now, it's not the Kohl's clothing store that you know. It is COLE''S, not the KOHLS. I think that's how you but they spell it COLE''S. They call it Kohl's. Kohl's department store. There's no such. There may be a Kohl's department store somewhere, but as a mom and pop store, but not as a big chain. And the store in the 1994 version portraying Gimbels is a store called Shoppers Express. And the Shoppers Express is portrayed as the evil big corporate chain store that wants to take over the good guy big chain department store. Yeah, there's things like that, and but the thing of it was, when this movie came out, the 1994 version came out, that's the only version I would watch. Now you gotta understand, by the time I eventually saw this movie, I didn't see it till it came out on home video. And it came out in 1995 on video. And it was the first time I'd ever seen that story. I'd heard of Miracle on 34th Street. I never watched the black and white one because I just thought, oh, old movie, black and white. I don't know who's going to watch that. So I ended up watching the remake. And I ended up watching the remake a lot more than I did the original initially. And I liked the 1994 version for the time. But years and years ago, my grandmother had taped the original Miracle on 34th Street off of TV. And it was a difficult sit-through to sit and watch. But then one year I watched it again. And it began to take over as the preferred version over the 1994 version. Now, let's just put this in a perspective of what happened. I'm going to take you back to 1994. What other Santa Claus movie came out at that time? How about Tim Allen's The Santa Claus? Yes, Disney's The Santa Claus with Tim Allen came out the exact same year and completely obliterated this movie from the box office. As a matter of fact, 20th Century Fox had issued a promise to the audience's movie-going audience. They said, if you don't like this movie, we will refund your money. And guess what? They ended up refunding most of the money. So this one was a flop. Big time. Because people preferred to watch this one. Now, my mother prefers this one for some strange reason, but I prefer this one. And I'll tell you why. Because of the charm. It has so much charm, has so much heart in it that I don't think you can recapture that. Because matter of fact, like I said before, this movie has been remade a couple other times as TV movies and the 1994 adaptation. However, I keep coming back to the original. And a lot of other people do as well, because every time that they have remade Miracle on 34th Street, it flopped each time. This was definitely a lightning in a bottle caught movie. Another piece of trivia about this movie is that this movie, like Die Hard, was released in the summer. It was released in June of 1947. Because 20th Century Fox knew that they had a great movie. And they released the film to theaters in 1947 in the midst of spring. Late spring, early summer. Who does that? Fox, you've done it a couple times. But even one was a summer action movie, and that is now determined as a Christmas movie. Bruce Willis is not wrong saying that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
I stood here and told you that it's not a Christmas movie. But I also said it depends on how you look at it as well. Personally, I don't think it's a Christmas movie. Miracle on 34th Street, by golly, it is a Christmas movie, was released in the summertime, and became a huge box office hit. It has been a classic that has been passed down, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah, as a matter of fact, this is what happened in the marketing campaign. They kept the fact that it was all about Santa Claus very, very secretive, because they had to put these people on a poster, and so all you see is Edmund Gwynn with, it's an illustrated poster, which means it's a painting or a drawing that somebody at the art department from the studio had made, and all you see is the character from the back raising his hat, carrying his cane, and it has a little tag nearby him. It says, "You'll meet the man who you'll meet the man who made the miracle." Thus becoming the big box office success of 1947. And I would say do check out both films. Now, the 1994 version is not a terrible movie by any stretch. I just prefer the original, because there was really nothing new that they added. all they added was a bit more of villainy and a little bit more crudeness to this. But that's about it. It's, you know, this one's G-rated, this one's PG-rated, so, but I would say do check both of them out. I understand, like, younger generation, you're going to have a harder time watching the black and white. You may. But do check it out, the original version. Because hopefully you'll see the fact that it has so much heart, so much charm to it. And this one, it's just a nice movie. It's just a nice holiday movie. It does, like I said, this one was written and produced by John Hughes. He didn't direct it. Les Mayfield directed it. But it has that... It's like John Hughes did his take on a classic movie. And John Hughes, it put in a little bit of his charm, a little bit of his, you know, wink wink humor in it, that, you know, that we know and love from Home Alone, but it's not slapsticky like Home Alone has that Christmas, has a Christmas feel, Christmas atmosphere. But however, it has a bit of a, you know, when it comes to the Wet Bandits, then becoming the Sticky Bandits, there's a slapstick thing that goes on when they walk into the booby traps and whatever. And this does not have that. It does have, you know, kind of that, but it does kind of have that Christmas atmosphere that Home Alone had, and kind of the, like when Myra Wilson playing Susan, the name of the little girl, when she sees Santa Claus for the first time, and he smiles and waves at her like, hi. It's like, you know, was he talking to me? Kind of that way that Kevin McAllister was with, kind of a Kevin McAllister-like attitude, approach. Only if you've seen Home Alone, you know what I'm talking about. You know, kind of that, you know, that little kid sense of imagination comes into play. But yeah, I would encourage you to check out both of these films. The other thing is, yeah, I think I mentioned it. Yeah, I can't. If anything else, if you are more of a modern day person, check this one out and then go look for the older one. You know, because then you'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, do check both of them out. They are good movies. I just prefer one over the other. But yeah, Miracle on 34th Street. Now, I'm going to disappear for a few more days. If you notice, I'm kind of doing these videos on my time off. You know, my work schedule is, we are breaking for the holidays, and I had vacation time. So, you're going to see a little bit more coming up to Christmas, and then and that'll be it. So, from me to you, see you later.